So is Geometa listening to the community? Okay, let's talk about what changes they are making and what they've done since the very bad launch of Space DLC. So first off, 24 hours after the launch, they are trying to do damage control. They've got hotfixes. We got one on the 13th, one on the 14th, and one on the 15th. On the 13th, they had admitted that they knew they screwed up the launch and they missed obvious bugs. And then finally, on Friday, we had another Friday update. And on this one, they talk about, how they made some fixes. And so they say they want to discuss what they can do to stop the problem from happening in the future. So they say that they're going to do unit testing, and they say they're going to add new data logging components that they can add to a vehicle and record number of on and off values. So then when they go to build a new version of the game, it's going to spawn a unit test vehicle, record the outputs of all the logged values, and compare them to the previous release. So the basic idea here is when they do a build, there's going to be a vehicle that outputs values, it compares it to the last values of the last build, and if there's something different, they'll be alerted, and then they'll know that something has changed from the previous build, and then they can take a look at it, and hopefully that will let them know that there's a bug of some sort or something changed when they create a new build. All right, that's cool. We like that. So next up, release checklist. Now, release checklist is something that I've been kind of talking about, which is the QA testing basically, where you have a list of things that you need to go through to test to make sure that your build that is going out passes all these checks. So, of course, I told you about my QA tester, which was like, the guy was very solid on making sure that every feature in the interface worked before it was deployed. For game software, of course, they're not going to check every single configuration possible. That's why you want your testers that we talked about that are community testers that build specific things and will quickly, see that a plane is not flying right because all they do is planes, or a helicopter is not helicoptering right. And so they can alert. But what they're going to try to do is release a checklist of things that they want to go through. And it says this checklist will probably be testing some of the most popular workshop vehicles. Again, I don't understand. Why are you trying to do it yourself? You've failed every time you do an update, and you've said this before. I hate to say this again because I know you guys already know what I'm going to say because you listen to my videos, but for Geometa, get your boat builder, get your airplane builder, get your helicopter builder, get your space builder, get your career player, get those as testers. You don't have to have the whole community test, but that moves us on to the next thing, which is the Steam beta branch. It says, many players have suggested player testing with the beta branch on Steam, and we will consider it. They did consider it, and as live today, but before we talk about that, let's talk about why they didn't like the beta branch. There was an issue where many players played the experimental branch because they didn't want to wait for the release date. Okay, this happens all the time with games. They have a beta branch and the public downloads it. Content creators download it sometimes if they want to show off the new features that they're working on, and it's common. Now, for some reason, Geometa doesn't expect this. I don't understand. This created a huge friction with the community because some didn't want to actually experiment and make changes based on player feedback while they are trying to build with the experimental components. Which public branch players decide to use beyond their control, but we are looking at ways in which, okay, why is it beyond your control? I don't understand that. Why are you saying this? I mean, yes, if you make a public beta, everyone is going to play the public beta or play the release, and they're going to download it and play it. I mean, I don't understand. If you're doing a public beta, everyone's going to play it. It's public. Okay? What? Okay. Again, going back to the other thing. Get your specified testers from the community, and you can give them a private beta branch in which you can go ahead and let those people test and not the public. Okay? So let's go ahead and get to Discord. Experimental is back. Thanks to the many players who have asked for player testing, we are bringing back the experimental branch. This can be accessed by right-clicking Stormworks Properties Steam Betas and using... Okay, let me show you this real quick. Go to your library. If you right-click Properties, you'll see betas. Participate, experimental branch, okay? It's worth noting, I should say this while we're on this page. They could, if they wanted to, put an older version up here. So if they release a new update and it's a disaster, there is a older version. So if we're all playing 1.95, okay, if we're all playing 1.95 and Friday they update with 1.96 and it is broken and they go home on Friday, you can come up here and say, I want to play whatever version is 1.95, 1.0, whatever. They could put all the versions of the release of the game here and we could go back and play that and nobody would be upset that their weekend was ruined for relaxing with Stormworks because the new update doesn't work. But they don't do that. I just want to make that as a side note because that's something that people have brought up over and over again. Why won't you let us play the older version? Some people want to go back as far as before 1.0 and play that version for whatever reason. They enjoy that more. They enjoy the missions or whatever. But we don't have that. We don't have all the different builds here. And they could easily do that. Well, I don't know if they could easily do that now, but you could easily add different versions here as you release. But I don't know about how much of a pain it would be to do it for older branches. But anyways, that's not my point. Point is, they could do that. So now that I went down that rabbit hole, let's go back. Here is your none, which is the current version I'm playing. If I hit the experimental branch, it will download the experimental branch and it will be on top of my branch that I'm playing now, which means I will be stuck playing the experimental branch until I come back up here and click none again. Okay, so that's that. But if you notice, there is a private beta thing here. So what they do is they grab their testers, the players get access to the beta test branch, and you know, that's who gets to play. It's not public. So that is something they do have control over if they want to take the time to do that. Now, I don't know how hard it is for them to update this beta branch. So I don't know if this key code is locked to only this branch and they can't push different branches. I think they would be able to. I feel like if you have a key code and it's for this branch only and they update this branch, this updated branch will be accessible by this key code, if you know what I mean. I don't think this beta key locks you out of updates if they're, you know, actually making new builds, but I don't know for sure. But my point is, again, they do have control over testers if they want that. It doesn't have to be a public free-for-all. Okay, let's go on. The experimental won't always be active, but it will be used for a few days at a time while there's something that would benefit from testing. For example, currently on a channel that I can't say the name because I am banned from Stormworks official Discord. This actually has a name. I think it's like probably experimental, I'm guessing, is the new fluid system changes that we are trialing. Okay, so this is important. One problem that I know they probably had with beta testing, because I see it in this Discord here, is people build something and they just want some input that says, oh, you know, I like that front end of your, let's go to Sanic. Maybe not Sanic. So let's use Tristan's truck as an example. So there would always be these people that would look at the truck and not say, oh, you know what, I really like what you're doing with the top of the cab, but you might want to change the bumper and use pipes. And pipes would make it look a little bit better. Okay? That's not the kind of feedback that some people give. The kind of feedback people give is they come in here and, oh my gosh, what are you doing with that bumper? That bumper is all wrong. That bumper doesn't work right. That door is wrong. Did you put that door right there? That door shouldn't be right there. Why are you using a pivot? You should be using a hinge. You know, crap like that. And so I know you're like, what are you talking about? But that's what happens with the beta branches. And I know that happens for like all beta builds, but we have a very divided community and we have sections of the community that are angry community that don't separate frustration from criticizing. And I'm probably guilty of that sometimes. When I get frustrated, I go into criticize mode, but I try not to. But the point is that for the experimental branch, if I were to download this, which I'm probably not going to do, because unless there's something that I want to show off that someone says, oh, you should check this out because they're doing something really interesting, then I might download it because I want to talk about it. But in most cases, the public downloads the beta, and what they do is they criticize what they are working on or the changes without actually giving feedback. That doesn't help Geometa. And that's where things go wrong with a public beta test, is they get a lot of noise from complaints about what a feature is doing, rather than people saying, I see what you're doing with the gas, but the gas should probably not weigh that much, and here is why. But instead, what a lot of players do is come in there and say, the gas is not working right. This doesn't make sense. This is stupid. Why are you changing the gas to be heavy? The gas doesn't need to be heavy. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is explain, I don't think the gas should be heavy because X, Y, Z. So that's the problem with a public beta, is you get the community that doesn't know how to communicate. So I don't know if there's something I don't know about private testing with builds or something like that, or I really don't know. I mean, I think it's great that they came back with the public experimental branch, but I do realize that there is a problem with a lot of the players that don't know how to express themselves. Again, I'm kind of repeating myself. But anyways, they are allowing that. They seem to be making internal changes with the checklist and the unit testing, and all of that is good. They appear to be trying to make changes, but they've gone ahead and actually done something physical, which is allow the beta branch to be accessible. But what I ask is, if you are using the beta branch, and if you are not banned from Stormworks official Discord, when you test it, give them feedback, not criticism. Criticism during testing doesn't help. Feedback, where you explain what the issue with is the feature that you're using and what you think might make it better, is what you want to do. So again, just for the record, please give constructive feedback if you're using the experimental beta and posting in the Discord. So that's it for today. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about if they are really listening and if they are making real changes. And I think that this experimental branch being back is kind of physical proof that they are making changes. Now, what happens from here is going to be, again, based on community behavior and Geometa behavior. So everybody has to kind of work together to make this work. All right, that's it for today. I will see you in the next one.